do it live. We do not ever do things taped anymore. We did occasionally like out of theater, like on my phone. I'm like, nah, we'll just do it always live. It makes it easier for me and there's more energy in it. And typically I just came out of the theater and it just works. And tonight, and we are off and we are running. And I bet you have not heard Margot Robbie talk about Babylon. She did a podcast here in the past week or so where she was asked about her career, all the films she's made. And she decided she wanted to, for whatever reason, and I'm still trying to figure it out myself, and we'll talk about it here in a second. She wanted to defend Babylon. And I know that if you weren't here the night that we actually destroyed that film, going way back, let me bring you back to the moment that we were there that night when I walked out of the very first screen of Babylon. It was in Beverly Hills at the Academy's Theater there along Wilshire. And it was like a 6:30 start. 3-hour movie. And here's the proof. Guys, listen, remember, whenever you watch MMT, you're getting somebody who's always going to tell you 100% truth. There's never been shit I've made up on this microphone. Not one time. Everything I tell you is 100% verified. It happened. Okay. So here is the tweet as I walked out of that screening that night. And I was the only person on planet Earth to have the very first reaction. And not just that, to have the balls, the fortitude, and the confidence, which most people do not have in the space. They need other people. Well, what does that other person think? I don't want to be out on my own on this. What if I'm wrong? First of all, we're never wrong. We're always right. And I'm going to prove it over and over here tonight with a lot of receipts. I got tons of receipts. Tonight's receipt night. That's what we're going to call it. Okay. And we're going to first bring our receipts in on Babylon. Here's what I said when I walked out of the theater. I have some really, really bad news to share with you. Babylon's a flaming hot mess, a tonal disaster, easily Damien Chazelle's worst film and one of the worst films of 2022. So 2 years ago, almost to the day, November 14th, right? That was the first screening, Beverly Hills. It was the Thursday night. And then I went on and trashed the film for over an hour here live. We had a lot of people watching. The channel was still new. But people were like, ooh, he saw Babylon. And he's destroying it. Remember, that's when I got in trouble. I got in trouble from Paramount. They were like, you can't talk about that movie. There's an embargo. And I was like, you're right. So I deleted the stream. Instead of making it private, I deleted it. Damn, man. Some things in life just think before you do it. Okay. That's one thing of all the regrets I have here on MMT. It's the fact that we deleted the reaction stream coming out of Babylon where I absolutely roasted that thing for well over an hour. It was really something else. Let's listen to Margot Robbie and then I'll jog your memory as to why the film's bad. After we listen to Margot talk about, are you guys ready for this? She is going to discuss the film, and let me see if I've got it here queued up. I hope I do.
Yeah. So I watched Babylon because, you know, he'd had this big success with Whiplash and then La La Land, right? And then like to have a public failure or what is perceived as a public failure. I was like, well, I got to watch this movie, and everybody didn't like it, and it's long.
And they're right. Everybody didn't like it. He's right. Ben Mankiewicz is 100% on. Anyone who defends this film, I'm just letting you know your reputation's flamboiled. Was that right? Is that the it's flambasted
on? Like, okay, but I want to watch it for, and then throughout the movie, I kept saying, why don't people like this movie?
I'm still saying that.
Right. Like, it's totally good.
First of all, I could never do Ben Mankiewicz's job because he's lying, right? There's no way in hell he actually thinks it's good. There's just no defense for the film. But here he is saying, no, it's good. It's great. Because remember, when you do the interviews with the stars, you can't be me. You can't go into an interview with Margot Robbie right now, Robbo, and tell her that the movie's terrible. Did you remember my tweet that I sent? Let me read it to you. They'd be like, what? Then it'd be like old David Letterman. And then the stars get uncomfortable but that's what I would do. I am not an ass kisser. Can you guys tell? Is there any hint of that? Can you guys tell? Here's the thing. So, no, Mega YouTube, can you put him in timeout right now? Gone Girl, put him in timeout. We're not going to have any defense of this movie. She's going to continue here. Let's listen to Margot Robbie before we bring up, the final hammer job on this entire thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's super fun. It's super fun, and then it gets also tragic and dangerous and full of peril and
tonally shitty. I've never seen a film veer as wildly. I told you, look, let me bring in, I'm going to continue here, but I'm going to bring in my full tweet review, which I think is one of the best I've ever written. I think it's actually one of the best things I've ever seen on Twitter, if I can just be as honest with you guys as possible, because that's what I do. This is it. This is 100% the essence of this film. A tonal disaster. Babylon's Chazelle's worst film. A brutally overlong, coked up mess featuring two great scenes trapped inside a flaming dumpster fire of the script. In a year of disappointments, considering Chazelle's pedigree, the most disappointing of them all. 100%. 3 out of 10s. You know why I gave it 3 out of 10? Because the two good scenes, right? One, she's doing her first sound tape on the soundstage, right? Best thing. Talkies, here we go, and that's good. And then Brad Pitt being told he's done. That's it. Those are your two scenes. There's not another one. Don't throw in another one. There's no more. Okay. But that 3 hours of garbage around those two scenes. So no, continue, Margot, because there's no defense. He's just making shit up. But do you see what he's doing? He's like, it's so wonderful. And it's a history lesson of 1920s Hollywood. Yeah, hell yeah, you are, Margot.
I often wonder, I'm like, I wonder if in 20 years people are going to be like, wait, Babylon didn't do well at the time? That's crazy. You know, when you hear something like Shawshank Redemption was a failure at the time, or whatever it is, and you're like,
right, yeah.
huh, how is that possible? And Damien is.
You guys not hearing that? I'm so pissed if you guys can't hear it. Let me just say what she says. She wonders if in 20 years people are going to turn around and say, this is a good film. Like, guys, there's no way in hell. There's not a universe in which this film is not viewed as a complete abject disaster. I don't know. I think it's because I didn't sign up for Spotify. I'll pull up the article. You guys, this is what happens when you do these things live. You just put it in. You can see exactly. Let's get her exact quote up here because I'm sure it's like the biggest story here. Where is it? Why is it not the first story? Why do I have to deal with this shit live? This is what happens when, I'm on right now. Well, that's not helpful. That's not helpful. Hold on, man. That's me watching myself do this live is not going to work. Here it is. This is the actual quote. I love it. I don't get it. I am biased. I admit that. I'm very close to the project. Obviously, I believe in it, but I still can't figure out why people hated it. I wonder if in 20 years, people are going to be like, wait, Babylon didn't do well at the time? Like when you hear that Shawshank Redemption was a failure at the time, and you're like, how is that possible? Because it's a tonal disaster. 2 good scenes. Okay, fine. Great scenes. Doesn't make a good movie. Here's the thing. As you guys know, I do this live, okay? There are good shows. Maybe that's even debatable. And there are bad shows, clearly. I'm not going to get out in front of a show I think's bad, right? I mean, like, this is terrible. This just didn't go well. Like, obviously not playing the audio here tonight. Oh, it was perfect. Everything was great. I don't understand how you guys don't see that. If anything, let me say what my problem is. My problem is I'm too honest. I'm too honest with myself, too. I will not, listen. Again, if I say it happened, it happened. I'm not the kind of guy, I don't tell bullshit stories. This town's full of people like that. So the thing is if you ask me if Babylon's good and I was in the movie, I would say it's fucking terrible. Did you watch that? I like Damien Chazelle and he has a lot of talent, but man, that just didn't work. I know what he was trying to do. And I'm in the movie, so I get it. In the time, I thought maybe it would work. When I watched it, it doesn't work. It's bad, okay? But they're not going to say that because Hollywood's like, oh, you're so great. Everything you do is wonderful. Mankiewicz has to say that, even if he doesn't believe it. I could never sit in a location with a star, with anybody, and say shit I didn't believe. I told you guys my story when I was at Boston. I was in Boston, and they brought me in to interview Paul for that Need for Speed, video game adaptation. I sat there, he walks in, and I was like, so have you heard the quote Matt Damon has where if you have 3 bombs, your career's over? I mean, do you understand that that is a brutal first question? Because what I'm basically telling him is this movie's not good, which it wasn't. Need for Speed, right? He's not a leading man. And I think I might even have said that in the room. It was really awkward. I'm not the guy to sit in there and blow smoke up. Yeah, it's not going to happen. I'm just not going to do it. So the reason I did it is they said, can you come in and talk to him? And I'm like, yes, but I'm going to end up asking him questions he doesn't want to hear because I'm not going to tell him it's good. So if you had me walk into the room with Margot Robbie after Babylon, I would just say, man, that's something, isn't it? She'd go, what do you mean? It would be bad. It would be totally viral and I would be kicked out. They would never. Listen, let me explain to you guys one more time. The studios don't allow me to go to see anything anymore. Anything that's fresh and new, the first screening. They know that there's no controlling me. None. 100%. You're going to have to deal with what you get. If I love it, I love it. If I hate it, I'm going to destroy it. So there's no way you're going to know until I watch it. So the problem is we have so many people in the space who are, oh, this is so good. Everything's great. You're perfect. And because of that, you have a situation where when someone is a wild card like myself, you're not part of the system. I don't want to be part of the system. We wrote an awesome script that will turn into a movie. I don't want to be part of the system. I don't want any part of Hollywood. Hollywood is, at one time, I used to think, hey, it's a great place. I'm really not enamored with this place, okay? Obviously, I live here. I have withdrawn so much from doing all of the events, going to these things, because 95% of the time I'm disappointed, right? The movie quality has gone down, driving around town, pain in the ass, traffic, holiday traffic, even worse. Why, right? I can just watch it down the street at Burbank. The fact that people drive around to these screenings makes no sense to me because the majority of them, let's just be honest with each other, I've said it before, they have no outlet. They don't have anything they're doing it for. They're just driving around. There's this old guy that's in Critics' Choice. He comes around all the time. I think he used to be with a reviewer for like LA Daily News. He doesn't even have a Twitter presence. I'm like, why are you're not even necessary here at any level. Why are you here? Why do they invite someone like that? You don't move the meter. You're not even someone anyone pays attention to. Why are you there? Right? I should be there, but I don't want to be there. But if I were there, they're going to know I'm going to destroy the film if I don't like it. That guy's inconsequential. No one's going to remember him. He's like, no one cares. Okay. Because eventually the reality sets in that unless you are 100% unvarnished and authentic and brutalizing when need be, no one's going to take you seriously. Well, people don't take Weber seriously. Oh, really? Check my DMs. Do I need to pull up my DMs right here again? Directors, writers, producers that come in and say, Weber, you are without a doubt the lone voice often of reason on these films. And people behind the scenes know that I am very fair. And I think that's very rare in the space. When you're fair, when you're objective, and then fearless and have a fair amount of talent, you destroy everybody. And that's the reality. And I'm sorry, you guys, here's the thing. I'm going to say it, and I've said it a million times. I don't give myself enough credit because ultimately, when I look at my body of reviews over the past decade, I am on the target very much, like 97% of the time. Do you know what that is very unusual for this space? The typical batting average for anyone in the space is probably about 250, right? It's 1 out of 4 if they're lucky because they're not talented. I've talked about people like a Scott Mendelson, very smart guy. He loves movies, but he's not a good critic. He's a very, very bad critic, and that's being kind. I like him. Nice guy, terrible film critic. Really one of the worst. But see, you just because you say you want to do something does not mean you're good at it. I can't just get into the NFL and say I'm a starting cornerback. Okay. I have limitations. Everyone has limitations. If you're good at what you do, people will respect what you offer. And I think that this space has too many people in it that are just completely and utterly clueless. And as I do that, I'm going to go ahead and do it. We're going to do MMT receipts because I am always on the right side of history. And this is one that I couldn't even believe when I read. It's going to be a receipt, and it's also going to be a terrible take. Guys, I've read some bad takes on film Twitter. I have read some things that make me just say, wow, that is not good. That is truly as off as any take could be. This, what I'm about to show you, is by far one of the worst. And here's the thing why did I just rail on that total tangent about how no one in the space has talent? And yet here we have a guy in here who thinks You guys think, for whatever reason. I don't understand why. Here he is, Freddy in Space. You guys ever heard of this dude? Freddy in Space, John Squires, right? He's got his little cartoon Wolverine picture. This is one of the worst. I have never in my life seen something as terrible as this take. Are you guys ready for this? Here it is. I feel like if Here, which we eviscerated, you guys remember? I'm going to talk about it in a second, but if it came out 30 years ago, it would have made $600 million in theaters, been widely loved, and gotten all kinds of Oscars recognition. Maybe audiences today are a bit too cynical. Anyway, it's a beautiful movie, high concept ambition, deeply intimate resonance. I remember I told you guys that the world is like starting to lose their minds. John is clearly exhibit A of that. Anyone who sat through Here, I'm sorry, guys. This is one of the most laughably sappy scripts that I have sat through in many years. Okay, it bombed for a reason, John. Okay, Freddy in Space. The fact that you think this is deeply intimate resonance is tells me that, my man, you've never been loved in your life. I don't think you even know what it is. Because if you think this is deeply intimate resonance sitting through Here with in the room with Tom Hanks and his family, you also have the inventor of the Lazy Boy. You also have the African-American family that stop in the middle of their daily things to tell you about police brutality in the middle of the movie to lecture you. There's all kinds of moments in Here that are just show-stoppingly horrible. And I have to listen to the vaunted film Twitter elite, John Squires, tell me that if this were out 30 years ago, we'd all view it as a classic film. Do you understand that if you issue shit like this, it's done? If I sent this tweet, I'd be done. It'd be over. Well, you're done. Weber, we're never going to listen to you again. The fact that there aren't people dragging this other than me points to what I told you before. So many people in this space are clueless, and I have to wonder how any of these people listen to someone. If I read this from a good friend, I'd say it's over. I'm never going to trust you again from anything. I'm not going to ever listen to you. Conversely, if you come on MMT, you're going to get things that you know. By the way, he's our film fraud. He's our film fraud for sure. Oh, my God. 100%. He joins many other film frauds in the space. Ladies and gentlemen, Freddy in Space is 100% a film fraud. And if he didn't have me blocked, I'd go back and forth with him because this is one of the most embarrassing film takes I've ever seen in my life. If you've sat through Here, this is truly a career-killing take on a film. Career killing. There's no moving off of this. I know. And listen, there's a lot of you right now between me hammering Babylon and now dragging Here again. You're saying, well, it's subjective. I don't want to have that we're not having that conversation. Do not come in here and have that conversation about it's subjective. There are certain films that are so terrible and so laughably sappy and faux emotional in Here and then tonally disastrous like Babylon that there's no room for negotiation. There is, you're wrong and you're going to look like a fucking idiot. That's your call. I'm just letting you know that when you give someone this as your subjective take on this, you're done. It's over. There's no way out. No way out. And by the way, since we do this, let's go ahead and just do the next thing because we're going to get to queer in a minute. By the way, I have my evaluation live here of that. But I do want to do one more thing that we are 100% right about, the MMT ruling that Ridley Scott needs to retire. Remember when I came out of, I know it's like 3 triple threat, bam, bam, bam. It is what it is, man. I got to come out of here with, fists flying. Tonight's one of those nights. I've got to do it. I was going to include Frosty in here as our show of the week. I'll save it for later. I'll give you guys a little break, but I have to do one more. Remember when I came out of Gladiator 2 and I told you Ridley Scott lost his fastball. He doesn't direct well. This is not a good film. He needs to retire. And then people, oh, how dare you? Let's listen to the DP of Gladiator. And let's listen to him talk about how Ridley Scott works. And remember what I said about he needs to retire and that this film is not impressive. Here we go.
Because actually, this is something I've always wanted to ask you, and I've never got around to asking you. And I heard from someone else. But when Ridley Scott shoots, does he use multiple cameras?
He does now. He's quite impatient, so he likes to get as much as he can at once. Now, that's not very good for cinematography because you can only really light from one angle, I believe, unless it's totally flat and nothing. So the problem is with that, you light from one side. You look at the older films, getting depth into things was very much a part of lighting. Now you can't do that with lots of cameras, but he wants to just get it all done. We shoot rehearsals, we don't block, we don't do any of those things. But having lots of cameras, I don't think has made the films any better.
When you say you don't block, what do you mean?
We don't block and rehearse scenery. No.
So just the actors come onto the set
and we just do it.
Okay, so I want everybody right now, even if you are watching, you say, hey, Weber's just, you come in right now, you give me a like, first of all. You come in with a comment saying Weber's the man, as my friend Coral Gables down there in Miami, the GOAT. I want to see it. I want it on the screen right now. Gone Girl, pop up as many as possible. I called this without knowing this, right? That's the difference between MMT and everybody else. We are the gold standard. And when we say we see it, it's there. Do not try to tell me it's not. And guess what? I called this when I saw Gladiator 2 without knowing it. That's how you know you're dealing with someone who's better than virtually everybody in the space. Most people don't see it. They don't understand it. Thank you, Vader Monkey. The reality is this, is that not everybody can do this. I've said it. And I know it sounds like, listen, Weber's boasting again, because I love to know and have my opinions validated by the people that are in the movie / working with the director who are like, this guy isn't even directing anymore. He doesn't care. I said that the other night. Let's listen to more.
And then hopefully you'll do 3 takes, and by take 3, the camera operators have worked out the focus pullers know where the focus goes. The grip's got some marks on the floor, and I'm going to maybe manage to tweak the lighting a bit. It's a bit rush. But
and it keeps going on and on. It's rush. And when you watch the film, that's what you see. I go back to Gladiator 2, and you look at my out-of-theater reaction. Go watch it. It's on the stream. If you need to find it, it's available for you on the YouTube homepage. If you're watching on X, go to Midnight Movie Talk. You'll find it there. I said that this film, across every level, from a directorial standpoint particularly, is unimpressive. And this is now the DP, John Mathewson, saying this is how he works now. He just is rush. Don't care. That's good enough for me. Let's go. Like Eastwood. They say Eastwood rushes. You can tell Ridley Scott's rushing. He's not the Ridley Scott Blade Runner. He's Ridley Scott Gladiator 2, and you can see it right in front of you. Do you see? Here's the problem we also have in the space, and I go back to this all the time. We have tons of untalented people in the space. But in addition to that, we also have people who grade films based on past legacy, based on the filmography that has preceded the film you're watching. You don't ever do that. I have never done that. How do you think I was the only person to come out of Babylon and call it correctly? Because I'm very much a fan of Damien Chazelle. Certainly Whiplash, even First Man. Even though screenplay, no, direction, yes. But still better than Babylon, okay? When you look at Chazelle as a talent, he is. As a director, not as a writer, not for Babylon, right? No way. I know he wrote Whiplash, but I'm telling you, Babylon is a total misfire from a script. So here's the thing, is when you look at calling these things, you have to be able to disassociate everything you know about the director from what you're about ready to watch. You have to just completely forget it. I don't care if it's the next Nolan film. I don't care if it's the next Tarantino. I don't care what it is. It starts at 0. Do you guys understand that? It always starts at 0. It never starts at 50 or 100 or, obviously for some of these critics, they're like, well, it's a great director. It's already at 85. Let's just go up from 85, right? On a scale of 1 to 100. Or in our case, 0 to 100. That's not how it works. It starts at 0. Always starts at 0. Every time. When I walked into Queer, Luca, right, as a director, love him. I think he's extremely talented. He has a very singular directorial vision, which I'm all in on. But I still started at 0 when I watched Queer. And by the way, that's coming up in 1 second. We're going to do the evaluation. But you have to be able to get that clear. You can't start at 50 or at 75. You start at 0. Animaniacs rule. Took me a second to get that one. When you say he doesn't block, what do you mean by that? Who's interviewing him? I hope it's not a genuine professional that doesn't know what blocking is. Let's see. I don't know who this guy. It's the Doc Fix, a documentary storytelling podcast with Nigel Levy. But I think what. Listen, I'm going to defend him for a second. Animaniacs. Here's what I'll tell you. Is I think that he's just trying to draw him out and say, what do you mean you don't block? Like, I know what that means, but let's just, right? Because if you're an interviewer and you hear something crazy, you want to almost like double down on the crazy along with it so that he will go up with, okay, think about it, right? So he just said he doesn't even do that. He doesn't block. You go, what do you mean he doesn't block? And then you know what that means, but he goes, well, let me explain that even more. He does nothing. And then you get more, right? Instead of going, what do you mean? I hear you act dumb and you get a better answer, right? So that's a strategic play. So I'm going to give him a little credit. Hopefully that's what he did. But again, we called this about Ridley Scott, and you guys a lot of people were like, how dare you? He'll retire whenever. I said, what did I say this about? I said this about Ferrari. I said this about Michael Mann. Go watch Ferrari. He's lost the fastball. He's not directing Heat 2. There's no way in hell if I'm Warner Brothers, I'm letting Michael Mann direct that film. Let me help you. It's a 0% chance he's going to get to direct that film. 0. Because I just watched Ferrari. There's no way I'm going to ever have you come in and direct after watching what I just sat through. You see, you have to recognize these things. And again, legacy is shit. It doesn't matter. Every time I come on the stream and I do it live, are you thinking about the last stream? What if I came on here and all of a sudden couldn't even string together a sentence, which is, close to how it usually goes? You would say, this guy, you wouldn't say, well, in the past, you would say, I'm just judging it on now, right? And I think that's the key. You have to be able to get rid of all of your biases, all of your agenda, and just watch these things and be fair and objective with them and not give anybody one iota of a better grade because of their legacy and what they brought to us, whether it's be classics in the past, their last film was a banger, it doesn't matter. We start at 0. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the MMT evaluation live of Queer. This is Luca's new film. A24 opened in limited release platform, New York, LA this past weekend, playing down the street at Burbank, had a chance to see it. Let's discuss it. We have Daniel Craig in William S. Burroughs' novel Queer. Here we go. Let's watch the trailer.
We're all parts of a tremendous whole. A curse. There's no use fighting it.
The difficulty is to convince someone else he is really part of you.
You think he's queer? I've been spending time with him. I can't tell.
Well, could always just ask.
No. I want to talk to you without speaking. Why don't you come with me?
Door's already open, can't close it now. All he can do is look away. But why would you?
And there is a nice tight trailer. It's under 2 minutes. So listen, I just said moments ago, I'm a huge fan of Luca as a director, right? Go back to Challengers, one of the best films of the year. I think what's interesting when you look at a Queer and you absolutely compare it head to head with the Challengers, they're so different, right? The mark of an elite level director is they're able to deliver two completely stylistically different films and certainly from a screenplay perspective, very different in Queer and Challengers, and both of them work. Now, I'm going to tell you why this film works and why it does not work. This is not across the board a raving evaluation for us here tonight. But I think the takeaway from number one is when you're in the hands of a director as talented as Luca Guadagnino, you have the ability to be immersed into the world of this 1950s Mexico / go to the rainforest in Colombia. You're spending time in these locations that truly look spectacular, because this is another production design film, right? When you're setting something in the past like Queer, a movie that's based on Burroughs' own life, right? A writer who has a drug addiction, he's a junkie, and his relationship with this, man that's really beyond his reach, but he makes every effort, and then they bond over the length of this film. Let me tell you, yes, there's a lot of gay sex in this, okay? It's called Queer. I mean, what do you guys, come on, okay? But if you really want to go to a film and feel from a production design, world building standpoint, how to do a film that is a small film, right? Queer's not a big film. This is the film to go watch. I was very impressed by that aspect, along with, yes, Daniel Craig, who is fully immersed here. You have to be, right? When you're going to commit to being a homosexual writer who's going after a younger dude, and you're going to end up seeing some stuff that, some of you might not be that comfortable with. Here's what I'll say, though. What's interesting? I was talking to Gone Girl before we started the stream. When I go to the movies, I don't want to watch sex. I mean, I feel like I'm Gen Z in that regard, right? They say they don't want to watch sex. If I want to watch sex, I'm going to Pornhub. I'm going to X Hamster. I'm going to one of those sites, okay? I'm not going to the movie theater. I'm not going to AMC, okay? So I don't want to see any sex. So, listen, gay sex, straight sex, I don't want to see any of it. So those moments are always going to be uncomfortable, whether it's gay or straight for me. So that aspect, just be aware, it's going to be there, okay? So you have to know that going in. But when you watch Daniel Craig, fully committed, I do think at times he breaks into his voice from Knives Out, right? It's like, wait a second, why are we doing that? So I think for him, there's sometimes when I watch Daniel Craig where I go, you're going a little too hard here. You maybe want to pull it back just a little bit on the accent, just a little bit. But that said, it's still one of the better performances of the year. This year's not been great. I would still put it up at least in consideration for the top 5 best actor performances of the year. Here's the problem with Queer. There's definitely issues. It's massively inaccessible, not just because of the gay sex, okay? Not just because, again, I don't want to see any sex, so that's not why I'm saying it's inaccessible. It is a very plotting film. This is a slow film. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes that feels like 3.5, okay? Typically, I would hammer a film for that, and I'm not all 100% positive. You'll see my score in a second. But again, the choices from a stylistic standpoint from Luca in this film, that production design, the whole feel of this is really strong. So that is the positive. The negative is this screenplay is going to be a hell of an effort for a lot of you. And for even if you're a cinephile, it's going to be tough. There were people, I can tell you, here's what happened. So I saw it at the 6, small little theater. You got nice recliner, perfect for this movie. This couple got up and left. They got up before the movie was over, like about 5 minutes left. I've had enough. And I think that's going to be the general takeaway for people here. It's not going to be a film that most people enjoy. So remember, we are high on this, 75. Listen, okay? I mean, it's not that, but I'm just saying there's going to be people that are not going to be happy with this movie. The vast majority of the audience will dislike this film, not because of the gay sex, but because you're going to be really tried on the patient's standpoint. You're going to be just like, oh God, just get me out of here. I don't know, Eric, if I want to see this, I just go to Pornhub. Well, I mean, no, it's not. Listen, the movie is not a porn, okay? It's not gay porn. Truthfully, if you want to see a better version I really liked was Femme this year, right? Remember Femme? We talked about that really small film. God, it's good. McKay's in that. He's great. I like that film. The more I think about Femme, the more I come back to that as being one of our top 10 films of the year. Queer, though, again, for the reasons I say, go see it. You can, but just know, yeah. And again, I don't want to see sex. Sex, man. It's just, again, it's a porn thing, is it not? It's not something I need to see at Regal or AMC. You guys understand. So for A24, one of their better films this year, but again, at a 75%, it points to what I talked about over and over here. A24's had a bad year. Okay, one of their worst, if not their single worst year. When you look at their best film this year is going to be Love Lies Bleeding, right? And everything else under that's worse, okay? Including Civil War. Civil War is not a good film. I don't want to get into it. We're not going to relitigate it. Not tonight. Maybe at the end of the year when I give you my worst of the year, because that's going to end up being like at least number 10. It'll get in there, okay? Civil War. But when you look at their overall filmography this year, it's bad, man. I'm telling you. You didn't even sit through Tuesday. None of you saw Tuesday. None of you sat through The Front Room. These are, guys, these films, I can't believe A24 even put them out. So A24 back to their very niche movie here with Queer. But again, it's enough to recommend for me at a 75, but it's not a high recommendation. A couple of comments, and we're going to move on to the Thanksgiving Day record here, which is very important because, listen, what are we all about? We're all about theatrical. We're all about movies succeeding in the marketplace. And this weekend, we have that. Any comments? Let's do it before I get into that. Anything Gone Girl, anything about Queer, anything that we've missed, go for it now. Otherwise, I'm going to proceed with the next, and we're going to drag Frosty in a minute. Do you think Daniel has a chance to be nominated? Becca, I think I said that. Becca, again, remember, go back to what I just said about the film being inaccessible, okay, for the majority of people. The typical Oscars voter is not going to enjoy the film, okay? I can guarantee it. Listen, I saw a tweet saying it's kind of like Beau is Afraid. I'm not going to tell you that's wrong. It's more accessible than Beau is Afraid, but it's closer to that than it is to something that an audience can sit down and really get into. I don't think so. I think because the film is inaccessible, the typical Oscars voter is going to have trouble getting through this. Also, listen, let's just face facts. There's a lot of people, if you're straight, watching gay sex is not going to be comfortable for you. In Hollywood, probably less so. But listen, I'm not going to tell you, again, I'm not going to judge. If you think that's uncomfortable for you, that's your deal. That's fine, okay? I'm not going to shade you for that. So, but I think also the other thing is you get into is people say, well, how dare you think that's uncomfortable to watch that? I'm not going to say, again, it's not my job to instill moral decisions upon people short of doing what's right and wrong. Okay. And right and wrong means stealing, murder, things that are terrible, right? Okay. So those are the things I'm worried about, right? So if you have a problem with that, then you're not going to like the film. I just think the Oscar voters are going to have trouble with just getting through this film. At 2:15, it feels like it's at least 3 hours long. It's a very slow plotting film. So Becca, I would say no. I say yes has a chance, because it's a down year, but I would say ultimately, no, he's not going to get in. That's my guess. Let's do the Thanksgiving box office record quickly on this. Moana slayed 220 plus million over the 5-day. You're looking at Wicked, now over 300 million worldwide, did over 100 million in the 5-day, down only 29% in its second weekend in that 3-day. And then you have Gladiator 2 that is doing very well. So all three of those synergistically are propping up the box office. We're thrilled, because that means we're gonna get more movies. Hopefully they spend some movies on non-sequels. If they make movies, let's just have some movies that are original. As much as, let's say, a Queer didn't work as perfectly as I wanted it to, I would rather watch a Queer than a Moana 2 any day of the week. Okay? Do not cut that out. You guys know. I'd rather watch, as you guys know, a Substance versus King of the Planet of the Apes, right? That's just where I'm at. I want to watch an A24, even though A24 is a terrible year. I want to watch a Neon, IFC. I want to watch an independent film. I want to watch something small, something cool. I don't want to watch the big blockbuster Dungeons and Dragons or some garbage like that. I just don't want to see those movies. I understand that's what brings people into the multiplex. Queer doesn't. Certainly, you look at the movies that we praise, like a Femme this year, or half the movies that I have up our list, like Asphalt City. These are not big box office hits for a reason. reason. But that's where our head's at. You guys understand that? All right, let's do the Wicked Girls. Did you guys see this? This is something else. This is like, you talk about cringe. And then you watch some of these people and you go, this is cringy. Even though I like Wicked, I think Cynthia Erivo is very talented. I like Ariana Grande pretty much in the role, but I mean, this is some bad stuff. Watch this. Have you guys heard this reaction? This is a question during the, hey, sit down and talk to the stars after you watch the movie and get their reaction. Here we go.
I'm a person and I feel and I have feelings and I can share them.
And if you need to cry right now, you cry.
Yeah. And someone said to me once that the green was the thing that I would love the most about Alphabet, that I would want to stay green. But actually, being green, yes, I loved playing this character. But every time I took the makeup off, I loved who I was even more. So I've come away feeling really beautiful.
I got to stop for a second because this is very hard to even get through. We still have another 30 seconds, but this is why people say Hollywood stars are unrelatable, right? If I'm in that room, I had to wear green makeup. It was a little weird, but ultimately I think the character and her being this kind of outsider, she's a misfit toy, and her creation and all this turning into the Wicked Witch of the West, right? It's the West, isn't it? This is not how you answer the question, but this is how stars talk.
You fucking are.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I mean, God.
You
absolutely,
know?
Yeah. What you've brought to this film and to these characters, you've not just taken care of them, you have transformed them for good.
Can you imagine sitting there and saying that? This is why I could never be in the room. That journalist, you've just brought so much life into these characters. You guys are really, truly blessed people. I can't do that. I'd be like, what was it like to wear the green makeup?
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is also my first time ever doing a junkie.
You have been the light of the day.
She's literally, they're so sweet, but it's almost like she's like, this is my first junket. Remember, I told you how these things work, right? Let me walk you through it, and then we'll talk about why they're unrelatable. When you watch the movie, and then usually the same day, sometimes the next day, either way, they bring you to a nice hotel here in LA. Maybe it was in London. I don't know where this one, New York, wherever, the Four Seasons. And they walk you into the room. Okay. You've got the stars sitting across from you. And you sit down in a chair and you are looking at them, and they're filming it, right? Universal has their own camera crew with a camera looking at them and a camera looking at the interviewer. And then they give you the footage and you go back and give it to whatever outlet you're with, TV station. When I worked in Boston, I was a TV station. So I'd sit there. I remember sitting there with Affleck in this situation, and he was totally out of it, didn't want to be there. And then finally at the end of the interview, as I'm walking out, he says, I liked your question. I'm like, why didn't you say that when we were actually taping it? Because he was just totally turned off. And I think for a lot of these stars, you got to remember, they're just doing one after another of these. So these two are probably we've been asked every question. And then you get some bozo who comes in and says, so what do you guys think about being in a Marvel movie? And they're like, oh, why did you do that? So they're all, they have to deal with this shit all day. But the fact, I don't know what she's talking about. Satvik, I saw you. It is weird. I don't know. Is it continue? It's just, it's kind of, it's pandering. The whole thing's just kind of, it's icky.
You are such a gift.
You brought such light into the room. Thank you very much.
We appreciate
for coming
you.
into this room.
Do you see how, listen, I gotta say, I like Cynthia Erivo. I have a picture with her when I was taking selfies with stars. I got one with Cynthia. She's very small. She's very demure. Here's the thing. When the way they just said that is so Hollywood, isn't it? You're so great. Oh, you bring a light to the room. It's so fake. Imagine if I came on here and I'm like, you guys are all just the best. I think you're really good people. You'd be like, ugh, it's icky. It's fake. It's very fake. Very fake. Hollywood's fake. You can't be like me. Do you think I could be like me? They'd be like, yeah, this guy isn't going to work. That's why the studios can't. They won't touch me. First of all, we've talked about it before. Oh my God, that's never going to work. Not in Hollywood. No, we got to have diversity because diversity is everything. Although I will say, can I say, and I know this is what gets me in trouble for the people that go, well, is he woke or not woke? Well, I'm obviously neither. I will say this. Yay, hooray to everybody who's absolutely destroying DEI. It's done. DEI needs to be abolished. It's an abomination. We are going to hire people based on skill and merit, and that is it. We're not going to look at skin color. It's gone. DEI is dead. Okay, it is dead. And for me to say that in this town, that's not going to work. But I got to tell you, anyone who hired me, I would come in on first day and I'd say, we're not doing DEI. We are. No, we're not. Let me explain. We're not doing it. They'd be like, you are. I'm out of here. I'd walk out. I'd turn around and walk out. And I'd come back and do the show. Because I'm not going to be told what I know in my heart to be a fucking farce and to be told that we're going to do it this way. No, we're not. We're going to hire the best person. That's all I'm going to tell you. And if you tell me we have to hire someone of X, Y, or Z, I'm going to say, hell, we are. No, we're not. No, we're not. But remember, Hollywood all plays that stuff. Well, we have to have representation. Of course we want representation, but that's not our number one goal. I'm not going to make a movie for representation. That's the only reason. I mean, certainly if a script's good and it deals with representation, I'll say yes, but I'm not going to make it because, well, it's representation. Is the movie good? I don't know if it's good, but it's representation. I don't care. I don't care. Says the white guy. I don't care if it's a white guy. I don't want representation of a white guy. Is the movie good? Do you guys understand? I'm right. No one can ever punch holes in that. It's 100% right. Except the easy way is for someone who's watching right now. Well, he's a white guy. Of course he'll say that. He's had every. I've had every advantage. Oh yeah, I'm so rich. Oh yeah, see me drive around my Ferrari. I'm doing so well. Are you kidding me? What advantages? What? I'm sorry. What? The fact that I'm in shape? Oh, it's because I go to the gym. How does that have to do with the color of my skin? I mean, I'm never going to play the color of my skin games. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. So don't even ask me to. So Hollywood instantly, it's a deal breaker. Dead. Weber can't come in here. You're not going to do DEI? Hell no, we're not doing DEI. That's stupid. Who the hell even came up with that shit? Telling me all this fragility and all. Get out of here. Get that shit out of here. Don't tell me I should feel bad about myself. I don't think anybody should feel bad about themselves. Unless maybe, you feel bad about me. You want to be in better shape. That's different. It's a whole other thing. That's fine. But you shouldn't feel bad about the color of your skin. I feel bad because I'm a white guy. Why? Why do you feel bad? Because you've been told? What the fuck? I'm not going to feel bad. I'm not going to feel like a victim. Conversely, if I'm the other way, I should. No, I'm not going to feel like a victim. Victimhood's pathetic. Victimhood is so fucking sad. If you go through life as a victim, I'm going to just tell you something. You're a pathetic son of a bitch. Straight up. Sure, of course we've had bad things happen to me. I've told you before. I went through the worst time of my life 5 years ago. Now 6, 7 years. I mean, I was depressed as hell, man. In fact, I'm even here tonight. Seriously, I'm not kidding you guys. The fact I'm here tonight's kind of a miracle. So as I tell you guys that, do you hear me talking about that? I can't stand someone on Twitter that come on and go, oh, I feel so bad today. I had a bad day. Someone say something nice. I go, I just threw up on my phone. Stop asking for a bunch of pity. Get out there and make it happen. Don't sit there and be a pity bitch. It's so sad. I'm not going to tell you who. There's a few people on the film Twitter. Every time I see it, I just go, ugh, gross. Don't do that. It's so sad. Oh, something terrible happened. Make me feel better. Why don't you be a fucking man? Why don't you man up? I had something terrible happen to me. I didn't sit there and cry about it. Well, I mean, sort of I did. But I didn't go on Twitter and say, oh, I'm so sad. Will you guys help me feel better? No, I'm not going to talk about the Ohio State loss. I'm not going to talk about the Ohio State. Maybe at the end. Let's do the shill of the week. It's Frosty Showboy, everybody. Get ready. Let's pull up the tweet that he had to say. And here's the thing. First of all, we're talking about Steven Weintraub. Here's this thing. I finally saw Wicked. What an incredible movie. I'd wondered if part one of a movie could win Best Picture. Now I'm wondering what could beat it. Absolutely something that needs to be seen on the big screen and not when it's streaming, which is all that we said the night I came out of the theater. So I'm not dragging him for being wrong. What I'm dragging him for is that when's the last time this guy ever said a movie's bad? Can you guys help me? When did this guy say movie's terrible? I mean, bad, like me. Like, come on here. And what did I say? This is exactly, I dragged his ass. He deserves it. Can someone remind me when this dude hammered a movie? His praise rings empty when he glazes everything. That is a masterpiece of a tweet. I think I'm going to hang this on my wall. I've talked about getting these things out. I want to hang this one on my wall because we've dragged Frosty right and left. And I'm always here. I mean, I don't go to the screenings, but if I ever see you, come up and say something, big boy. That's a total misnomer. Definitely not. But this guy is everything that's wrong in the space, and yet Weber's the bad guy. Frosty's, because I'm dragging a guy who constantly just does nothing but, glazes everybody. That makes me the bad guy? Explain to me how that makes me the bad guy. Can someone do that? Can you guys help me out? Someone come in the comments. How does that make me the bad guy? Come on. Someone. Why am I film Twitter villain number one when you've got Frosty Showboy here glazing everything? Why am I the guy? Why? Can you explain that? Because I'm harsh? Because I say we shouldn't have DEI? So what? Get over it. This guy says everything's great. How can you trust someone like this? This person's way worse than anything I'm doing. At least I'm being honest. This guy isn't honest. So when he says something good, you don't know if he's telling the truth. Right? Think about that. If I come on here all the time and say, this movie's great. Oh my God, it's the best movie I ever saw. Masterpiece. You guys be like, what? You know that when I say a movie is at 90+%, I at least firmly believe that it's a great film. A lot of people in the space, they're like, oh, everything's great, especially Frosty. Fantasy's the worst. Mr. G, I'm not kidding you when I say this. I've said it before, and I'll do it again. I'll do it all the time. Sean Fennessy is the biggest single fraud in the entire film space. He is an embarrassment of a writer. He's terrible live. I would destroy him in a live stream. It wouldn't even be a contest. And physically, I'd destroy him. It's not even a contest, but Sean Fennessy's the king. Oh, he's the film Twitter god. He has the big picture, part of the Ringer podcast. I don't give a fuck who he's behind. I wouldn't hire him. Who hired that guy? He's terrible. He's terrible. Mr. G, terrible. What an embarrassment. He really is. We talk about value. You bring the space. Frosties and Fennessy bring zero value into the space. Zero. Other than glazing everything. Or glazing what's supposed to be glazed, right? All right, open comments here. I think that was just, Weber's just going off on everyone here tonight. Can you imagine how uncomfortable Queer made Alan Ng from Film Threat? He would have been so offended. And you guys, can we just do this right now? Can we talk about, why do you guys watch Film Threat? Can you guys help me? Why do you want to watch a show where Alan Ng comes on and says, it's got gay sex, therefore it's bad? That's weird. It is, right? Because we're not doing a religion show. We're not doing a morals show. We're doing a film show. And yes, of course, I've talked about this. Your own personal feelings about something can wander into a review. Get into it. Look at, like, for me, Terrifier 3. But that's a humanity thing, right? I don't want to see a 10-year-old chopped to bits on the floor. So that is different than this movie's bad because it's gay sex. Right? You guys understand? And I understand how people can say that, but as a film reviewer, that shouldn't be one of the reasons why the film's bad. But yeah, that's what they're pandering to their audience. I don't have an audience to pander to, right, guys? So, I mean, clearly, not only do I not care, I mean, I assail the audience all the time. I don't care. So why would I worry about someone going, well, he liked a movie with gay sex, and I don't care. Why do I care? I do this stream because I enjoy it. I'm not worried about making the audience angry with me about some opinion. If I did, I wouldn't even do the show. But they have to fall in line, right, with everything. So yeah, I don't know why you guys watch. I have no idea. I like Alan, but then once he turned into the whole with Chris and the whole anti-woke shit, it's crazy. Did Gore even talk about queer, and what did he say? Did he say it's bad because of the gay sex? Of course he did. Other questions here before we get out of here on this Sunday night. What are your thoughts on the budget? You know what? Listen, this is the moment where I'm gonna hit the end stream. I will come through the camera and I'll get you. I promise you, Gone Girl. I will find you, hunt you down for keep popping this in. The Buckeye, quickly, I'm just gonna say this. You gotta fire Ryan Day. You have to. He's got to go. You haven't beaten Michigan in 4 tries now in a row, and you didn't ruin your chances of national title because you can still win. But if you don't beat Michigan, I frankly don't care at this point. Yes, a national title will be awesome, but the way they're playing, the way those plays are called, the way that Chip Kelly, I mean, what the hell is he even doing, right? Running to the short side of the field over and over when Michigan's strength is defensive line makes no sense. You throw. Their CBs and their safeties are vulnerable. That's where you go with the ball. But yeah, again, I'm not Ryan Day making $10 million or whatever he's making a year. Terrible loss. One of the worst losses ever for Ohio State. Don't ask me that question again, Gone Girl. I swear to God, I'll bounce you. More questions. We have about 5 minutes. Less than five. Open comments. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anything here. We got to pretty much everything here tonight. We drag people. We didn't give it. Let's see, anything else? Scott's ego got in the way. We got Alien Covenant instead of. Oh, listen, Mount Fillmore, don't get me started about that. Listen, again, back to Ridley Scott. We talked about it, and we had our DP telling us exactly what I called the night that we watched Gladiator 2. This film is not great, and everything the DP said is accurate about Ridley Scott, and you see it. You have to understand, he's now 80 years old, right? When you get older, you're not going to be as good as you are when you're younger, okay? I told you guys I play beach volleyball. I'm not as good now at my age as I was when I was 28. Not even close, okay? When I was 28, I could jump through the gym. I still jump well. You guys have seen my box jumps. I'm good. But I'm talking about a different level, okay? Because when you're younger, that's your athletic peak, like in your late 20s. I was a monster physically as far as jumping and just being quick. I'm built like that. But as I get older, it's all about fighting father time. You guys know I talk about the gym all the time, post pictures, because it's about, for me, trying to stay in the game. Just played today, did not play as well as I did when I'm 28. But the reality is this: you have to put the work in. Otherwise, it's really going to fall off. So I know right now I'm not getting better, right? There's no way I'm getting better. So I have to just fight father time to stay at the level I'm at. And that's a process. That's work. Ridley Scott doesn't seem like he's ready to do the work anymore. He is a guy who's made his money. I understand him wanting to get through this shit, but that's a disservice to the source material. And as such, you have to step aside. Someone has to make the command decision to say, you're done, Ridley. And that's the thing. No one wants to tell him that. After watching Gladiator 2, I'd gladly have that conversation with him. Especially, and if he said a single word, I'd just pull up the article. I pull up that thing we just listened to about the DP, saying that he's lazy. He doesn't even block anything. He just shoots it, and that's it. And we're moving on. You see that throughout this movie. It does not look good, okay? The shots aren't held long. Probably because they didn't even get as many takes. They're like, shit, you watch Gladiator 2. I called it the night I saw it. These things are like edit. Because he's probably like, we don't even have the length of shot that I want for this. He said cut before we were there. I didn't even think how lazy he was. Now that I know that, Ridley Scott has to bag. He's got to throw it away. It's done. It's gone. He's retiring. It's over. Last couple comments for out of here on this Sunday night. And then we're back. Maybe Thursday. Night Bitch opens here in LA. I want to see it. That is Amy. What's her name? God almighty. It's been a long stream. Anyhow, Night Bitch. Amy Adams. I've heard mixed things on it. It's an hour and 30 minutes. I'm okay with that. So maybe we'll do a short stream on Thursday with Night Bitch and whatever else happens during the week. Any other things before we get out here on the Sunday night? Cynthia Erivo makes Joe Biden sound like professional speakers. Listen, the Biden era is over. Okay. Oh, last thing I want to say. I'm going to say this. Is going to get it. People. I was going to say this. I want to mention it before I get out here. I understand that Biden just gave the pardon to his son, right? First, can we just talk quickly about Hunter Biden? I know this is, what a disaster of a human being, right? I don't care what your politics are. There is no defending that guy. I mean, none. I mean, just the pictures of him snorting crack and with hookers. What a disgusting human being, right? 100%. I don't care what your politics are, disgusting. Here's what I'll say, though, is that and listen, he can do whatever he wants. But this is what I will say. If you are a person who is totally fine with Hunter Biden getting his pardon from his dad, and Trump did that for one of his kids, and you would lose your shit, there's where you're wrong. That's where your problem is. Okay, that's all I'm going to tell you. That's it. If you can't recognize the hypocrisy of that, just ask yourself that question. If you're okay with that, but you would conversely turn around and go, oh my God, if Trump did that, then that's where our problem is. You see, I don't mind if you think that's okay, then you better think it's okay if Trump does it. I don't care. Doesn't matter, right? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for objectivity. Are you consistent with your takes? Are you consistent with how you view the world? I don't want to play politics as far as left, right. I don't want to be, I'm full left wing, full right wing. I want you to play everything as what if it's objective. Okay. What if it's objective? Okay. Next week, I want to do this. I'm beat tonight, but next week, I'm going to spend a little more time on MMT Gets Freaky because I've uncovered some stuff that is wild, and I want to talk about that, and not Planet X, but some other stuff. Remember my theory as I close here tonight, and I'll just make it very short. Here's what I believe, and I believe I'm 100% right. I just can't tell you exactly what the mechanism is. Every X amount of years on this planet, we get a complete reset. Okay. I don't know how it happens. I don't know if it's a metaphysical, geological, earthquake / rogue beam from the sun. I don't know what the answer is. I can just tell you this. I'm watching some stuff and I'm getting closer and closer to finding out what really happens. Well, at least I think. I'll let you know that next week, in addition to other movie stuff, because that's what we do here at MMT. We just don't have any rules. We don't have any boundaries, as always, forever. Interstellar back in IMAX. Can't wait. I'm going to see it next weekend. I will discuss that next Sunday. I'll see it in 70mm IMAX next Sunday. I think it's Saturday, actually. Peace out. Live from LA. I'm exhausted. Good night. Thank you for being here.